Hey Beer Geeks, and welcome to a video that nobody asked us to make.
If you had to have like a really disappointing sounding style of beer name,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to be called this yourself, would you?
I don't know, I think the world needs more mild. Both the liquid and just the approach to life.
It sort of sounds like bland though.
Yeah, it does a bit. No, you're right. So yeah, this week we're talking about mild, which weirdly has had a little renaissance in British brewing. People have got excited about mild, and I think a lot of people don't actually understand what mild is. So today we're hopefully going to debunk it as well as, well, probably ask some more questions and confuse some more people. It's also a debut for Green King on our channel, so that's exciting too.
Shout out to Green King, boys.
Right, Bradley.
Yeah.
Let's start. Tell me what you know about mild.
Old men drink it, Johnny.
Right, okay, good.
In
Good, start with the
dark
cliches.
corners, in tobacco-stained old man pubs.
Mostly in the north of England.
Mostly in North England, but mostly in North England. I would say growing up, I used to frequent all the old man pubs in Beckenham and my surrounding area growing up. And because I didn't like young people, basically, so I used to.
They are idiots.
Well, they were mean to me as well. They used to heckle me and shout at me and, you know, be horrible. So I used to go to old man
Not very
pubs.
mild-mannered, were they?
They're not very mild-mannered. So I sought out a more mild-mannered folk, and their sort of drink of preference was probably a mild.
Okay, well maybe this is going to bring up some lovely nostalgic memories for you. Do you want to crack our Green King?
Not really, but I will.
And I will get talking about mild. So, we've already talked about this in our Stout versus Porter episode.
Yes.
But basically, mild is not a style. That's what we need to start by making super clear.
Mild's not a style?
Mild's not a style. Mild actually refers to how old the beer is. So back in the 17 and 1800s, when you walked into a pub, more often than not, you'd have asked either for a mild or a stale or an old ale.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
of course.
so mild was the really young beer. Now this was back before we could really control fermentation, so we were like, it was just wild yeast that were getting in there. We were transporting yeast from batch to batch to try and get consistency.
Yeah.
So we didn't quite know how the beer was going to end up, and we mostly served it before it had finished fermenting, before those wild yeasts had really gone to town. Mild was just a young, sweet beer that hadn't fully fermented out, and it was cheaper, and it was sweet, and it was delicious. A lot of what we understand as being mild now isn't actually that relevant.
No,
Okay, so mild became a style as we started trying to, you know, pigeonhole stuff. Go, oh well, this must be this style, this must be this style.
Got you.
Which is a lot thanks to Michael Jackson, who did incredible work trying to almost like make an encyclopedia of the different beers that were made around the world. But that's what a mild was. So a mild could be pale, could be bitter, could be sweet, could be anything. It's just fresh beer. And then the people in the pub would blend it if they wanted to with some stale, so they'd order a mild and a stale, or they'd just have the stale if they wanted the older kind of funky stuff.
So it was fundamentally, it was a totally different way of understanding beer and categorising beer. Michael Jackson came along and he almost made a sort of a forensic pathology of the different styles of beer.
Yeah, almost like we did with the Animal Kingdom. He made like a beer kingdom.
Yeah.
So, most mild now is what should be referred to as like a dark mild, right?
Okay.
So it's not a young, fresh beer. It is, in fact, a beer that became dark purely because it was fashionable to have dark beer. Now that fashion came from the rise of porters, which as we've explained in another video was a kind of development of the style. And then milds got lower in ABV, mostly because during World War I, the UK government limited the average strength of a brewery's beers, and so we end up with beers like this. So this is the XX mild. Green King say, sweet and roasted flavour, moderate bitterness, light underlying herbal hop character from Goldings, and English copper hops. Easy to drink, but also plenty of flavour. We'll see about that, Green King. So let's give this kind of dark amber mild, I'd say. Ruby mild, I reckon.
It is quite dark. Caramelly.
Really caramelly.
Toffee apple.
Toffee apple. Toffee apple,
Straight
that's
up
it.
toffee apple, right?
Yeah. It smells really nice. It also smells, and I mean this in a nice way, like spilt beer in a pub.
Yeah, kind of like sickly sweet kind of thing.
Now I can see why people quite like that.
Pretty tasty.
It's liquid toffee apple, liquid caramel, There's no roast to it whatsoever. It's just candied and lovely.
It's very non-offensive. I have quaffed many a mild.
With your old friends?
With my old man friends.
It's just a very different beer to anything you taste almost anywhere in the world. This is unique to the UK.
Yeah, there's not a lot of hop profile at all in that, is there?
There's none. There's absolutely none.
There's none of that, really. It's all about the sort of caramelly and the maltiness of it.
Strawberry laces. Tell me.
Strawberry laces.
Come on, strawberry laces.
I mean, I love strawberry laces.
But it's just, it's quite a pastry kind of flavour. It's really sweet and reminds us of strawberry laces and toffee apples.
For a 3% mild, something called a mild, quite a lot of flavour going. Quite a lot of, and it feels...
Like they said, easy to drink, but plenty of toffee apple flavour.
Toffee apple flavour.
Okay, so I think that was pretty accurate to what a mild might have tasted like. Very, very sweet, almost feeling unfermented, lots of fruity character. Except back then we would have started probably to see some funk coming through, and it probably would have had some more fun off flavours as well. That's a very dialed in beer by Green King. Now, if we want to check if that's the case, there's something else we can do, which is to have a beer based on a recipe from back then, which is what we've got with this bad boy. So do you want to get this Kernel of Redemption collab?
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a Kernel and Redemption collab.
Well, this is a very old beer. This is past its best before, and I've been saving it for a special occasion. So this is made by Redemption, a great cask ale brewer up in North London, and then the Kernel, one of the best breweries in the world. So, I mean, what we've got there is a beer that looks very similar, maybe a little bit more brown than red.
Yeah, it's a little bit, maybe a little bit lighter. Yours looks a little bit lighter. Mine looks a bit darker.
I think you've just poured more for yourself there, Brad. That's cool, whatever. So this is based on a Victorian recipe. So it's at 6% because milds, even though we associate them with being low ABV, would have still possibly been quite high. Yeah. Ginger, caramel, sherry.
Yeah, sherry I'm getting a lot of.
That's it, yeah. Spicy.
I guess there's like a heat, like a ginger heat, like you said. Ooh, lovely.
Light caramel.
Soft, isn't it?
Really soft. Which is something that can also happen with oxidation. It can sort of thin out. And you see that in a lot of really old beers. If you crack a 50-year-old beer, it's incredibly thin. I think as, glutens and all this kind of stuff, proteins start to break down. But it's interesting. Like, there's none of that heat. I think it's kind of smokiness now.
It's almost like a kind of, like a very mild sort of, like a little tiny bit of whiskey kind of smoke going on.
Yeah, definitely peated.
Yeah, it just feels really well balanced, actually. Mild-mannered, I would say, almost.
Mild-mannered. So we've covered what we think, a 1950s, 1960s mild would be, so the mild that's in our heads. We've covered, to some extent, the original mild that people didn't know existed, and now we're going to go for the modern mild.
Okay.
So one of the breweries, when I said there's been a weird renaissance in mild, one of the brewers that loves mild is Sam at Boxcar. So Boxcar, a great, very small brewery in East London, and he's brewed mild several times, and it's one of his best-selling beers, bizarrely. He mostly focuses on like some good Belgian stuff, but mostly hazy IPA, and then just has mild. And this is his double mild, so he calls it a reimagining of the mild. The interesting thing on the back of the can is he says softer and smoother than a stout. So he's trying to say it's a big dark beer, but there's not going to be any roast to it. I'd possibly argue that's a porter, but the yeast is Boddington's old yeast.
Cool.
Which is amazing, A, because Boddington's was a great beer back in the day, but B, because Boddington's is the origin of the Conan yeast, which started the New England Revolution. So there you go.
Biscuity sweetness.
Biscuity sweetness, absolutely. And darker fruit. It's not red berries like you get in a porter where it adds a little bit of acidity. It's like figs, plums.
A
really
deep, dark richness.
Exactly, yeah.
It's kind of, for me, it's kind of verging on the porter kind of vibe.
It's almost like the third. So you've got the stout, really dry, roasty, toast, coffee. You've got the porter, red berry, caramel,
milk chocolate.
and then you've got this, which is like candied fig. I don't know, candied. I don't know what the fruit is, but it's too sweet to just be like a fig or just be like a date. Oh no, dates are really sweet. It's the dates. It tastes like a date. That's so delicious.
It's real good. Double dark mild, DDM. We've heard of DDH.
There you go. Yeah, you just abbreviate it and it's cool.
Sounds cool as fuck.
DDM. I'm not into DDH. I'm more of a DDM guy.
DDM guy.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Like crystallized sugar, dates, no roast, lovely rich body, which explains how beautiful it looked when we poured it. It is a reimagining. I was skeptical, you know, when he said, you know, it's not like a stout. I mean, it's definitely not like a stout. It's definitely not like a porter. It's its own beautiful, sweet, caramelly, figgy, datey, unctuous nonsense. I love it. So when we said at the start of this video that we needed to be more mild, I stand by it. We need more mild. We need more stuff like that.
I think that's really exciting.
It's beautiful. Anybody that loves a pastry stout would absolutely lose their mind over that. Particularly if you love pastry stout but aren't wild about what's going into them. It's beautifully sweet and complex and fruity. This was beautifully sweet and utterly uncomplex, and that was super complex and unusual, mostly because I aged it. But mild, you know, mild is seen. I think it's like you said at the start. It's because of the name. It's seen as dull.
Dull
right?
as dishwater.
Dull and bland.
What people think. Yeah.
Yeah, but these have all three of them been beautiful, unique, and had that sweetness that we have come to really love in beer again with New England IPA.
And pastry stouts.
And pastry stouts. Yeah. And weirdly, maybe that's why mild's having a little comeback, because palates are a little bit sweeter at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've always got a sweet tooth, as we know, Johnny. But I must say, I've been surprised and amazed and excited by milds, which I didn't think I would have said at the start of the video. So there you go.
There you go.